never drown. And if you're scared to die a martyr, then I guess just back out now. But when the tide rolls into town, I bet you wish you learned to swim. And when their bullets strike you down, I bet you wish you learned to live. I feed the wildfire and dance with vampires to stay awake. You built an empire inside some barbed wire and died to stay. Take a glance between the blinds, see through the windows of your mind. Take a chance and roll the dice. If you're not here to just survive, and if the window breaks, will you escape or hide inside your head? And if the dice you play don't land your way, would you dare to roll again? I feed the wildfire and dance with vampires to stay awake. To no avail, too big to fail. This world's a business, you're so different. Like a Muslim, a Jew and Christian. Inside the system, divide and conquer. They can turn a great man to a monster. Guard the borders like the lines exist. I guess a new world order wasn't just a myth. Got something to say, better plead the fifth. Before we play, no, the game was rigged. Fuck the fame, I wanna live for something real. Maybe one day you'll hear this and break the wheel, my son. If the stars align and the time ever comes when they kill me off before the job is done, here's the blueprint. Go make some music and go tell the world that the world is one.
mine. Oh, I feel like a majestic bird in flight, gliding solemnly.
Step by step, I get
You know, we joke a lot, but the sad truth is you could hear this message very soon. Once again, your freedom is at risk. Big internet ISPs and the government are trying to take away more of your rights than usual. But you can do something about it.
That's right. It's super easy to do. Both of us went to battleforthenet.com today, and we made our voices heard. Battleforthenet.com has everything you need to know about the net neutrality movement. and it has everything.
We're sorry, your internet provider has deemed this content unsuitable for viewing in your area.
Go to battleforthenet.com.
Please make your voice heard.
Mass UFO sighting.
Now, this creature is said to prowl the swamps.
Everything is a lie.
Becomes more transparent and then finally disappears.
They're a lot closer than we've been thinking. It is very, very, very Saturday morning now. And I'm Dale. And here we are. Ryan, how you doing?
Doing great. Good morning, everyone.
Yes, good morning. Shall we have breakfast together? This is ridiculous. So, in the intro when I'm like, everything is a lie, it's true because the laptop decided to update when we were supposed to be going live, and it said 100% for, 15 minutes or so?
Yeah. Perfect timing.
Yeah, it was great timing. Everything is 100% is a lie. That was far from complete. Anyway, so here we are, and it is now post Black Friday and post Thanksgiving.
So we're on the stretch to Christmas now.
We are. We're all the things that were Christmassy before are going to multiply by about 10 now, so
Right.
that'll be fun. All right, well, we're really sorry that the show is late, but here we are. Let us not dwell on it. Let's move forward, shall we? So, Ryan, let's have some news, sir.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
The first thing I want to mention, and I'm not going to go too much into it right now because we're actually going to visit this subject in full on the later half of the show.
All right.
But just as a brief snippet of news, I just wanted to say that this past Wednesday was the 30-year anniversary of the Max Headroom incident. So if you're familiar with what I'm talking about, that's we're going to go more into it later, but happy anniversary, whoever you are out there.
Indeed. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a cool incident. It'll be something to talk about for sure.
Definitely. So the real piece of news that I have is we seem to keep coming full circle back to fairies, I think. Maybe the universe is telling us that we need to do some research and look into these things.
Sure.
But what has happened is a university lecturer claims to have captured real life fairies on film.
Huh, that's cool.
Yeah. So he's a 50-year-old photographer, and he was out taking some nature photos. And in one of the photos, he thought he had captured what looks to be some insects. But when he took the photos home to develop them and later magnified them, they appear to be humanoid creatures of some sort, almost like the way Tinkerbell is portrayed in Disney films.
That's what I always think of, and I know that's not necessarily accurate, but that's what you think of,
Yeah, when people mention fairies and they're serious about the lore and everything, from what I've always understood is that a fairy will appear as like a ball of light, or almost like what they call like a sphere phenomenon. Some people even refer to these as a type of UFO. But these that he's taking pictures of, they actually look like your traditional little Tinkerbell fairy.
Huh, that's unique.
So his name is John Hyatt, and he's going to be displaying the fairy photos in the Rosendale Whitaker Museum.
Isn't John Hyatt a musician? Have a little faith in me.
I don't think it's the same.
Probably different guy, just saying.
Yeah.
But hey, have a little faith in him, right?
Yeah, so he's saying people should take a look at the photos with an open mind and then decide for themselves what they think the creatures are in the photographs.
That's a fine approach. We decided we like that, right?
So, I don't know. I'll have to link you. Let me send this link over to you.
All right.
Fast.
Okay.
See what you give these quote unquote.
All right.
So I don't, dude.
I already
like I
am
said,
looking and just like, what? They look kind of like moths or something.
Yeah, I mean, that
I'm not
could be-
discrediting them. I'm just saying they kind of do from just first glance. All right, I'll put
Yeah,
the
it
link
could
in the chat as well. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Thank you. So yeah, that could be some kind of insect that
Mhm.
just, it could be a type of moth, but I don't know. I don't know how much faith I put into the fairy tale fairy.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. This one doesn't convince me. Now, I don't know. I don't know that much about insects, but it doesn't look like little people to me, really. I suppose they have limbs, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Use your own judgment, I suppose.
Even still, it could be a type of insect, but
Right, sure.
interesting that that has popped up again. People have taken pictures of what they believe to be fairies in the past as well. If you scroll on down in that page there, you'll see another photograph where the photographer believes that it's an actual humanoid fairy that is wearing what appears to be trousers.
I see that.
So,
I don't buy that one. The other ones, I don't know. That one I don't buy.
yeah, I mean that the later one kind of looks like it looks like CGI to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that very well could be a type of insect as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could, I was looking at these earlier, and I think you could kind of, not to be a naysayer or anything, but I think, you could take a picture of a grasshopper that would give you kind of a similar effect if you got it just at the right angle while it was
Sure.
jumping.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure where this museum is going to be, but these photos, they are available online, so you can take a look and see what you think. Me personally, I don't know what we're looking at here, but I don't think it's the traditional, or I guess what we would refer to as fairies in the paranormal sense.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What people usually write to us and ask us about.
Right.
Case. So interesting photos. Check them out and see what you think, everybody.
Yeah, we don't mean to discredit the guy. We obviously have no idea either, but just from the pictures alone and no real context of his life, doesn't exactly impress me a whole lot. But what does this in this world? We're very jaded by photos now because so many fakes are out there, I guess.
Isn't that the truth though? It's getting harder and harder. I feel like I've been kind of a naysayer in the past past couple shows.
I don't think so. I think you're just trying to be level-headed and honest with yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't believe everything that you see. You have to have a bit of a skeptical eye.
Sure, some things are just normal.
Because there are a lot of people trying to fool you out there.
Mm-hmm. It's very true.
It doesn't help either that he kind of looks like the main character from Saw.
That's true. That's true. Do you want to play a game? It's about fairies. Let's play a fairy game. How about it? All right. Yeah. Look it over, read the article, see what you guys think, and write in and tell us if you want to talk about it. We'll talk about it more. Sure.
Yeah. Are we completely off base here, or is he off base? Is he trying to fool us? We need a fairy expert to reach out to us.
We need you very much. See what I did there? All right. Now, this is pretty scary, actually. Mine.
Okay.
There's been deafening sounds. They've been heard in dozens of locations this year, and they remain unexplained. It's a phenomenon that has been reported in countries all across the globe, yet despite widespread efforts to get to the bottom of the mystery, nobody seems to be any closer. The most recent example, which shook houses and prompted several calls to the police, was reported in the U.S. State of Alabama at 9 p.m. Monday. Despite investigating the disturbance, authorities were unable to find the source. Loud boom heard. We do not see anything indicating large fire smoke on radar or satellite. Nothing indicating an earthquake even. Over the last 12 months, similar incidents have been reported in Finland, England, and South Australia, and many other locations. There's a video that has examples of it, which is pretty cool, and I will post that video when I get it open here. I should have kept it open because I watched it earlier, and I didn't keep it open. Let's see here. All right, so yeah, I'll share that, and you guys can check that out too. See what you think about it. It's always creepy, and it kind of goes along with the second half of our show, doesn't it? Ish. Just weird stuff happening.
So, what do you think it could be? Out of pure speculation.
Pure speculation. I'm gonna say something in the earth isn't happy. It's got a tummy ache. Other than that, I have no idea.
So they do feel that whatever they heard, it seems to have come from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
That they feel. What makes me kind of uneasy about that is all of the talk about sometime within our lifetime, maybe the super volcano is gonna erupt.
I have another story that could potentially tie to it.
Let's hear it. I want to feel more uneasy.
Yeah, well, this kind of brings it into a little more of a natural phenomenon, but it's very scary. Fears of a massive earthquake rise after 134 mini tremors rattle San Andreas Fault in 1 week. They hammered a 3-mile stretch. 17 were stronger than the 2.5 magnitude, and 6 stronger than 3. Yeah, fresh fears have been raised, suffice to say. That's pretty much all. It gets a little wordier than that, but it's just saying same thing over and over. The sad part is this could mean something big, and is it all warnings from our Earth? Because that's not good.
It could be. One thing I worry about a lot is, on the West Coast, up north, above the San Andreas Fault, more along the lines of like Washington or Oregon, there's actually a big plate there that is, for the most part, inactive. Most of our history, but they say that area is due for some kind of massive event that could happen pretty much any time.
That's not good.
Not scare anybody that lives out that way or anything, but that's just what I've seen in several articles, and they always kind of, we're going to see a lot more smaller quakes leading up to the big event, what they call the snapback.
I think 134 is a pretty good start.
Yeah. So
scary. I mean, you've always, you grew up hearing about California breaking off and moving on, not saying that's going to happen, but geez.
Well, I hope geologists are monitoring the situation.
Yeah, that's all. It was like when the asteroid came really close, fairly recently, if you recall, fairly close. And, we got, what was it we decided? Jupiter or Saturn? Jupiter's got our back.
Right.
Yeah, Jupiter's our boy, Blue. It's a good thing.
That's interesting.
You know what? It could mean that things are just changing in the solar system and it's affecting our Earth, It's always happening, and we can't understand something that hasn't happened yet. So maybe there's something out there going on we need to be paying attention to. That new black hole that's eating black holes.
Who knows?
This whole magnetic field thing, man.
The universe is a living, forever changing thing.
Absolutely.
And we can't for even a moment pretend that we understand or are the masters of our universe, because we are not.
Oh, absolutely not. We are absolutely pawns in the game it decides to play, however it chooses. Right. Dark Falls has Escape from L.A. Snake Plissken in the house. I love that movie. I love both of them, Escape from New York and from L.A.
Oh, yes.
Good stuff. All right, well, if you want to keep the news a little shorter tonight, do you have any more?
Yeah, we're a little behind schedule, so that's I'll wrap that up with what I had. So
okay.
Why don't we take a little break and we'll come back and we'll jump right.
We can definitely do that. All right, well,
topic.
Yeah, well, we shall return, folks. Did we even say what our topics were? We didn't. tonight's been off.
We kind of hinted at the second one, but
Yeah. The second, the first one, I tell you what, since we've already skipped it, we'll just come back and talk about it. We are off tonight, folks, but we are here, and that's all that matters, right? All right, so let us take a quick break, and we shall return.
Listen up, you brainless boob. Do you enjoy talking about 80s action figures and toys? Perhaps your favorite is the Snake Mountain playset. If that's the case, tune into the Retro After Dark radio show. For more details, check show times at midnightspookhouse.com. It's one you won't want to miss, you pea-brain nitwit.
Have you ever seen a ghost? Have you ever heard voices? Maybe you know someone who has. If you're afraid to share your story, there's not always an outlet, and sometimes it's scary. But don't worry about being judged. Come and hang out with us at Spook House Radio, and we'd love to hear your story. Write us an email or come hop in chat. We go live every Friday night at midnight, and we'd love to have you and your story.
Spook House Radio.
We try to go live every night at midnight. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and
usually beyond our control.
It is, and we forget what we were going to talk about, and everything just goes everywhere. It goes crazy. Dark Falls mentioned Charlie Manson died last week. Yeah, maybe you know what? Maybe there's a correlation. Lots of things going on and such. So, all right, now we're going to talk tonight. First topic about. Recently, I read a page about stuff, and it made me think, what if? So, a study reveals that after you die, you're conscious long enough to actually know you're dead. How do you feel about that, Ryan?
That could potentially be terrifying.
It could, yeah.
I mean, I guess in the moment leading up, in the moments leading up to your death, you know, depending on how you meet your demise, could make for a potentially scary time, or it could be a peaceful time.
It could.
You know, if you've been expecting the end for a while, you know, and you allow yourself to accept the end and move on, you know, I would imagine that might be a peaceful experience. But otherwise, you know, if you're unfortunately killed before your time, you know, whether that be an accident or something else nefarious, I wonder if that would be terrifying.
I would think so. Just thinking, you know.
Yeah. So, what do you have on this study?
All right. So the study breaks it down.
Proven that you do remain consciousness.
Yes. So let's do the Socrates thing here. Consciousness is the most simple form. It's awareness. That's it. The neuroscience behind awareness is not really well understood. That goes kind of back to the soul and things, how you just can't describe it. It is what it is. The human brain has billions interacting neurons, which compute information. When our human brain absorbs and computes information that we take in, scientists believe this is consciousness. Your heart pumps blood to the rest of your body, including the brain, so that it can function. All right, now that's just a basic idea. I already don't necessarily agree with it. You know what I mean? Like, not to be more, I don't know. Not to be, I don't even know a good word for it. Not to sound condescending, because obviously, you know, the article's well written. Socrates knows his stuff. I just feel like it's not as scientific, you know, as you try to make it sometimes. Obviously, your heart's very important, your brain and things, but I think consciousness comes back to the soul, you know, and that's something you and I have discussed many, many times and always end at, how do you even describe it? You just almost can't.
Right.
I feel like that's where your consciousness lies.
Is it as simple as knowing oneself that, you know, I think, therefore I am?
It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, we're able to recognize ourselves as an individual and recognize that we're aware of our surroundings and our perceptions.
Yeah, this goes back to last week's a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. Is it as simple as that, or is there more?
I don't know, but let's do this. Now, the medical definition for death is when your heart stops circulating blood. Simple as that.
That's it. That's the.
I mean, I could read you a paragraph about it, but that's it. That's it. When your body stops functioning, you're dead.
That works for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple, right?
All right.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of debate around near-death experiences, whether people actually die, the time limit before they're considered clinically dead. Because, as you know, people have been considered clinically dead and have come back to life before.
Right.
It has happened. It happens a lot,
Absolutely.
So what does that say? Is the technical definition of death unfair? I think so. I mean, in some way, you have to think so. What's fueling the body? Because if the body loses the fuel, but it can refuel, something beyond the body is fueling it, in my mind, right? Right.
I'm following you.
Yeah, I know that sounds terrible. My wording's probably not that good, but it's there's just something else. And we're one of those shows where we're not purely science, obviously. We're no form of scientists. We're theorizers and we're armchair scientists, as I think Ryan's put it before.
Right.
But we do the best we can. We try to take logic and science and beliefs and put it all together. Any which way. So now there's new evidence that proves that you're conscious after death. After technical death now. Keep that in mind at all times. Recently, Dr. Sam Parnia, Director of Critical Care and Resuscitation at NYU, he and his team advanced the concept that we know we're dead after we're dead. His team explains that they agree with the traditional notion that death occurs when the brain stops receiving blood. So the team of doctors and researchers reviewed patients. The results of the research revealed the brain dies slower than the heart. Thus, even after we die, we are aware of our surroundings and aware of our recent death. What do you think about that?
To be completely honest, I find the whole idea of that to be a little terrifying.
Mm-hmm. What's more is that their patients under this study came back and told the doctors and nurses that they physically saw them working on their bodies, resuscitating them.
Right.
So it's like they got sucked back.
Right. And I think what's interesting about examples like that is when you hear accounts of them viewing the scene from a third person's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, they're not looking out of their own eyes. They're actually witnessing the scene as if they were another person standing in the room.
Right.
Sometimes even, hovering above.
Yeah, like in cartoons. Yeah, like hovering above.
Right. Yeah.
And it goes to show your perception of reality versus the true reality could be completely different things.
Right.
We're in one set mind on one plane and one existence. And there very well could be so many other things happen. And I think this kind of lends to that. It also lends to something that we need to talk more about, and just ghosts. And I don't mean ghosts in the sense of boo in a haunted house. I mean just the spirituality, and
right.
Not in the religious way, because we ain't trying to offend anyone. Just in the sense that it exists, and I think we can all probably agree on that by now. I think there was a time where people just wouldn't talk about that, though, right?
Right. It's interesting how the belief in ghosts kind of fluctuates.
Mm-hmm.
You remember when we discussed mediums several episodes back?
Right.
Remember in that time period when people would actually go to visit a medium and hire them to allow them to speak to a deceased loved one.
Mm-hmm.
I think in that time period, that was accepted as that was just something that you did, and people actually talked about it, and it was kind of a common accepted belief that you could do such a thing. And then as time progressed,
right.
People started to question, are spirits or ghosts real?
Mm-hmm.
Is a lot of that, just fake You know, they're just after your money and putting on a show. It's just a big hoax, you know.
It's like with internet photos of fairies. It's like you don't know whether it's a hoax or not. There's so much on both sides. It's hard to understand what's true.
So I think as our science has advanced and people think about it with more of a critical mind, I think back in a time period where more people tend to question their existence, or at least think, you know, there's something there at least, but we have no idea what it is.
Right.
You know, I wonder if we'll get back to that point in the cycle to where everyone kind of accepts that that's something and something's going on there, and may not still understand it, but there is something definitely happening there.
I think we've reached. Go ahead.
I think people, you know, just humanity as a whole, I think is kind of 50-50 on it these days, just from what I hear, you know.
It's I think 50% who are searching, they hope to find something or they believe they've found something. The other half just aren't thinking about it. I think maybe we're just not syncing up on who's thinking about it, you know. Maybe it's as simple as that. Because we don't spend every day, what is life? Why are we here? Are we created? Did we just happen? You know, I don't think every day we ponder that. So I think sometimes it matters to people more than it does others. Therefore, I don't know. Maybe we're just not having the right conversations with everybody at the same time. I don't know. And then again, you know, there's just so much science that's missing. And
then again, I think our technology kind of separates us from our spirituality as well.
Sure. Do you think that's on purpose? You think it's meant to be that way? I've always kind of had that feeling we're just not meant to know. It's like how you don't ask a Ouija board how they died, how the spirit died. You know, right. I feel like there's things we're not meant to know in this realm. What would be the point if we knew that it all ended in heaven, or it all ended in hell, or it all ended in some obscure universe that didn't matter? Why get up? Why go to work? Why try to exist? You know, it's like you almost need it. You almost need that reason.
Yeah, I can see where you're going there.
Yeah, just if you know the end game, the purpose is kind of sucked out. It's like why you don't want spoilers in a show. It's almost like, well, I know where this is going already. You lose purpose.
Yeah, it's like you might, if somebody spoils a show for you, you might not even catch that episode.
You still like the season, but the purpose is gone. You know, you're not driving to anything anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So now it asks, how can consciousness exist after? The brain functions stop working because it lacks the needed blood and oxygen. Dr. Parney explains that this means that the brain's cerebral cortex, the thinking part, slows down instantly at the time of death and flatlines. When a brain flatlines, within 20 seconds, there are no brain waves visible anymore. However, death in a medical sense doesn't mean that the consciousness part of our brain ceases to function immediately. It only suggests that the waves aren't registering anymore.
Right.
So then you have to ask, I think, to wrap up the science part of this, you have to ask, were they technically dead then? And I think we kind of talked about that already.
That's I think approaching it from a scientific standpoint, if you think about what the brain does, the brain's job, it's the center of your body. You know, it's the driving, what word am I looking for? It basically drives all of your bodily functions. So I would imagine that at the point of death, the brain is kind of like the last place that tries to hold on and keep everything together and keep everything going.
Right.
Because that's its job, is to keep you alive, keeps your blood pumping and your lungs breathing, and, you know, it handles all of the functions of your body.
It sounds to me almost like that the reason the brain out survives is because we need to be aware of the transition for some reason.
Possibly.
Just a thought. I mean, I have no science with that.
could a disruption in that, could a getting back to a situation like a haunting.
Mm-hmm.
So when you die, your spirit moves on to where we don't exactly know.
Right.
But what if you're able to, what if you just can't accept that, or you refuse to accept that, or you refuse to move on to whatever that next point may be?
Mm-hmm.
Is that defiance against the process? Is that what can, I guess, lock your spirit or your essence to this plane? And is that what creates what we typically think of as a ghost in a haunting situation?
Mm-hmm. Because the way we've thought about it, I think, we talk about how time isn't linear. Your body isn't, it really is just a vessel, tying your soul here for the time being. But we believe around these parts that there's more to it than that. Like Darkfall says, it would make faith meaningless. Like everything would be meaningless if nothing happened next. But I can honestly say, and this is not, science tries to prove why you feel things and pain and things like that, but the things in your soul like love and fear, I can honestly say that, how to word it? Why would you even feel love and fear if there wasn't something else? There wasn't a purpose. You just died eventually and it meant nothing. I'm not saying go out to a church tonight and worship God if that's not what you want to do at all. I'm just saying please be open that there's got to be something else, folks. There's too many indicators, you know what I'm saying? Like, and again, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong if you say there isn't. That's fine. But in this area of the conversation on the paranormal, you have to know there is, or the conversation is null and void in general, I think.
Yeah, unless that, like you were saying, that kind of ends the conversation from a paranormal standpoint.
Right. And that's it. That's all,
If you look at it purely scientifically, like to quote, well, I don't know the exact quote, Neil deGrasse Tyson, in several interviews, people have asked him, what do you think happens when we die? Or what do you believe the afterlife is? And he said, it's nothing. There's nothing else. That you lose all sense of awareness. And what happens next is the physical material that makes up your body returns to the earth or returns to nature to be used for new life forms. See, energy cannot be just created from nothing or destroyed.
Right. Only transferred.
Right. So his belief is you're transferring to the next life forms.
Okay. I mean, I can respect that. That's that's something, but it's still believing in something,
Right.
It's trying to answer the question that all religions and the folks who don't believe, it's everybody trying to answer the question. And that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. I think when people ask him that question, they're looking for, I guess, an expert to validate their own religion.
Right. That's it.
I hope he believes what I believe, and that'll make me feel better about it. I think if you're that confused or unsure, you need to look inward and really truly decide if the religion you follow is right for you. Because you can be a member of a religion, that I think gets passed down from parents to children, and they're just a part of it, even though they don't necessarily believe in it, and they're just kind of a part of the cycle.
Right.
So they're searching for some kind of proof to make that faith real to them. But I think, and this is about as spiritual as I'll get on the show, but I think the answer comes from within on that. You have to look inward and decide if you feel that faith yourself,
Yeah, faith is not a trip to church on Sunday. Faith is something you believe or you don't.
Yeah. And if you don't, that's fine.
Yeah, it's your choice, by all means.
Go ahead and start looking for answers that you do believe in, and answers that look for. There is no. How do I put this? So I don't know if there's ever really a correct answer for this. I mean, there's no way we can definitively decide and tell you tonight what happens when you die.
Right.
You basically have to find the answer that I guess you're the most okay with.
That's about all you can do. Yeah, definitely.
Because otherwise, you're going to spend more time worrying about that than living out the time that you have been given on this world.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't have a lot of it.
That's it. And no matter which side you fall on of the religious line, try to not hold the people who believe in the other half accountable for the information, the facts. Don't blame Westboro Baptist for somebody who believes in God. They're probably not the same people. Don't blame an atheist for someone who burns down a church. Not every atheist burns down churches, and not every believer in God or Buddhist or Jewish folk you get what I'm saying. I'm trying to not make it sound like anybody's evil, because not everybody is. I want everybody to just respect each other's beliefs, and let's all figure out something together,
Right.
Nobody's wrong because none of us are necessarily right. Well, nobody knows. So let's stop pointing the fingers and be so angry about it.
So, with that being said, would you like to hear an interesting theory that I heard?
Sure.
On what happens when you die?
Yeah.
What if, and this is how it was delivered to me, what if when you die and you rise up from your vessel and you travel down the tunnel and you see the light? You've heard people speak of the light that you see when you're having a near-death experience.
Mm-hmm.
What if the light, if you choose to pass through it, that there is no real afterlife for your spirit, but as you pass through the light, that is you being born into another person, and you're actually coming into the world,
like reincarnation, sort of.
Yeah. In a new vessel.
Could be. And even that doesn't rule out anything. That doesn't declare there's a God, and it doesn't declare there's not. That's just another part of the journey, perhaps.
And it all goes back to, I would imagine that your spirit, or I've always thought of the spirit as being a sort of source of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, energy cannot be created or destroyed, as we said earlier. So perhaps that lends some credibility to the reincarnation theories.
Who knows?
That your essence or your spirit, is essentially transferred to the new life form.
Mm-hmm.
Then,
there's a lot of things that just there's a lot of natural things in the earth that cause reactions. I've spoke about it before. When people will go to a house or something, if there's a certain limestone below it, for example, when it storms, it'll energize, and supposedly hauntings flare up.
So let's shift gears a bit and talk about hauntings.
Let's
I'd like to explore that angle of it. So what do you think about the theory that I kind of postulated earlier, that you can kind of break the cycle? In other words, in your last moments of consciousness, as this study was showing, I wonder if you get to make a decision. Will you pass on to the next life or to the afterlife or whatever that may be? Or can you make a stand and just adamantly refuse that? And then your spirit essentially gets stuck here on this plane.
It reminds me, I mentioned it early on in the show, not tonight's show, but the show in general, of how my uncle, who he had passed away, he had one of those experiences, and he saw doors and a voice telling him to pick one.
Right.
So I think about that. I think about that a lot, probably too much, but I think it's something you should consider, Maybe it was nothing, but maybe it does mean something. Maybe there's a good door, a bad door, and maybe there's a door back home. Well, he's alive, so clearly there's a door here. What does it mean? I couldn't tell you.
So
it makes me feel hopeful. I'll say that something goes on. You don't just cease to exist. That's important, I think. I think that's all we really want as humans, is that we want to continue to matter, and that all the love and the time and the effort didn't mean nothing. It meant something. And that we'll have it again, and death isn't final. I don't think we're looking necessarily to be rich, or we're all would love to be rich, but you know what I'm saying. We just need it to mean something.
Exactly.
So now what do you think about it?
Back to your uncle's story before we leave that. I was thinking about the being given a choice for the doors. Who knows where they might lead, but what if in that moment said, no, I am not choosing a door.
Right.
Is that the moment where he perhaps could have lost the chance at returning or going on to an afterlife?
Maybe that's, where they stay. There's this limbo there where they can hang around Earth and haunt. I don't know.
And you hear about, or typically with spirits, that they're locked to this plane because of unfinished business,
right?
Or maybe it's.
But to be fair, that's only a theory. We have no idea if that's true.
Exactly. What if your need for revenge or unfinished business is so strong that that's what causes you to refuse to choose a door? In other words,
are we all forced into a door eventually? Is there an end? Or can you literally live an eternity in that existence, that limbo? When someone comes and cleanses the house to move you on, where do you go? Is your choice gone then? Like, there's so many great questions,
Are you given a shot at the doors again, I wonder?
Right. Do you get to gamble that again? Do you rule out the one door, or does it go back in too,
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about, and sadly, these aren't questions we can answer. When you talk spirits, that's where you have to leave it. People will tell you, well, when you die, you can hang around and haunt folks if you feel wronged. We don't know that's true. We just think it is.
So, what do you think about people that have seen, a loved one, in their moments of transitioning to death?
I believe in that wholeheartedly. And because of my belief set, I think that it means a lot. I think it says you're crossing over to the folks that you spent your life with that matter to you. That's what I believe. I believe once you love someone, you create a bond that will truly last forever. But that's just my personal belief set. That's not even a religious thing. That's just how I believe as far as how important people are to us. I believe the human connection is the most important thing, the only really important thing on this earth. Everything else will disintegrate in time,
Right.
What do you think?
I was just wondering, if you have passed on to the afterlife, whatever that may be to you, does your bond with your loved ones give you kind of a link back? Because not all hauntings are nefarious, people have said, I've seen my grandmother and they warned me or distracted me long enough to save my life, or you've heard stories like that as well.
It's true.
That appeared as a premonition, or I was trying to think, didn't we have a story where somebody was going to happen? Something distracted them. They thought that they had seen a spirit or whatever, and that distracted them for a moment. And
right.
if they had ignored that and went on, they would have been killed, like a Seinfeld or something. I'm trying to remember what that story was.
Did you say a Seinfeld? Is that an episode?
Sign fell.
I want
But
to
you know
say hi to Beth real quick. Thanks for joining us. She says maybe it's just the ones with unfinished business, and I think they may be there to comfort you as you go or to be sure you're not afraid of what's coming. That's how I feel as well. Whether it's right or not, I don't know, but that's how I feel, you know.
That's an interesting theory too, that maybe your loved ones can link back here to be a sort of guide.
Like a guardian angel or something like that.
Like, here's what's happening to you. Let me help you to the next step. Don't be afraid. And people've heard that as well. You know, they've been told, don't be afraid of what's happening.
Right.
It is terrifying. And then what they report is that, you know, the light or whatever it is they're moving toward feels comforting, almost warm, you know?
Right.
Like it's going to be okay. And then something, the doctor is able to save them or what have you, and they're drawn back.
Absolutely. Darkfall says, I was crossing the street and felt like a physical wall, and then a car sped by. That's so cool. I love stories like that. Have you ever felt that in that moment, like, wow, I could have just died right there? He says he felt like he hit a physical wall. That's really cool. I'm glad the car didn't hit you, man. That's awesome. Whoever was looking out for you. Megan's had a couple of experiences within the past few years where something is clearly looking out for her, and I'm very thankful. And there's more to the picture. That's all. I mean, you know, definitively, that's all you can really say. Not everybody would even say that, but around here, we will definitely say there's absolutely more to the picture. So believe your faith, believe your science. Know that both leave a little room on either side. You know, we don't know all of either. And
right.
I won't rant about that. Now, go ahead, Ryan.
I was just going to bring up the story that I've told in the past about, you know, when I was feeding my son and in the dining room and felt a presence there. But he was, whatever he saw, you know, he was kind of looking above me and he was laughing. Now I got kind of creeped out, and I've told this story in the past from kind of a spooky stance on it, I guess. But you know, when I reflect back on that, I think that if whoever that was malicious, you know, something bad would have happened then. But I like to think that, I don't know what to say for sure, but I like to imagine that perhaps that was one of my grandparents that had passed on and wanted to see, you know, my new child, you know.
Right.
And perhaps entertained him for a moment. So,
you know, I like to think so. I like to think that they're there and they're seeing, you know, your children. You need to think that, right?
Nothing bad or creepy has ever really happened in my house.
Except my dreams in your basement, but.
Yeah. That's all you. That's all personal issues.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. My fear of preachers and things, I guess. Beth says, what about the people who see a glimpse of what hell might be like? Have you heard any stories about that? Definitely. I've heard a lot of stories about that. Kids will come back and they'll say there is a heaven and there is a hell. And
right.
They'll talk about hell. You'll hear that all the time, and it's scary. Does it prove biblical Jesus? That depends on whether you believe the story. I certainly am not going to push that on you either way. If you believe, you know, if you believe their stories, then absolutely, I think it does.
Right.
It proves something along those lines. So Megan is here. She made it home. Since we started late, she's going to be on a little more of the show. So hello, Megan.
Hello, everyone.
So this is perfect timing.
Yeah, we can transition here, right?
Well, I was going to see if she'd like to share one of her stories. You know, I don't know if you heard the story from Dark Falls, but he told us the story of how he was getting ready to cross the street and he felt almost like a physical barrier that kept him from stepping out into the street, and then a car sped by.
Mm-hmm.
If whatever that was hadn't stopped him, the car would have hit him.
Right. Did you? No, she wasn't in here for that, were you?
I think I did hear that. I was
Okay.
listening on my Bluetooth. to
Oh,
you guys.
okay. Well, if you would like, I mentioned about your car accidents. If you just want to talk about the last one, the latest one, it's not a lengthy story, but Jesus. I'm going to excuse myself for 1 second. I've got to take an early potty break, but I'll let her tell a little bit and talk to Ryan about it. I'll be right back. I'm honest. What can you say? I'm an honest guy.
Well, my story doesn't really have anything paranormal attached to it at all. Well, that I could see, I guess is what he said. I just kind of I ran over something. That's and I felt it, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and then as soon as I looked back at the road, I hit a car that was in the middle of the road on the interstate. So I was going full speed, all the way smacked into this car, and the car was totaled. It caught on fire, like movie style, exploded, and I walked away. So, I mean, it's I guess pretty incredible in that I just got out of the car and walked away, but I didn't really feel anything stop me from getting hurt or, anything like that.
So you just felt lucky.
I mean, yeah, I absolutely feel lucky. Like my life was in danger looking back at the damage to the vehicle, and there was actually somebody at the scene because my door wouldn't open. He pulled me, like he had to like bend down the frame because my window was broken. He had to bend down the frame of the window, and then he like pulled me out of my car. And I mean, he wasn't a small guy, but I'm not a tiny person, he just lifted me up out of my vehicle. So, I mean, I was very lucky to have people there to get me out before the car exploded, and that I could walk away.
Glad they were there.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, that's my story.
Well, thank you for sharing it. I hope that wasn't too painful or anything to bring up the past like that.
Oh no, not painful.
So, was there another incident where you felt that there was a kind of a third party involved?
Again, no. I wrecked a different vehicle, and looking at the damage on the car, I should have been hurt a lot more than I was. And Dale always talks about having a guardian angel looking over me because I keep walking away basically unscathed. But I haven't actually seen or felt any kind of presence protecting me in any way. But clearly something has my back because I keep walking away.
So I wonder if Lady Luck is a real thing, a real entity there.
Maybe. Although I was trying my hand at some gambling stuff tonight, and I don't have luck in that sense in any way. So I guess I have the luck in the more important aspect of my life.
Whoever Lady Luck is, they're looking out for you and the stuff that matters.
Yeah,
that's sure. What I think, definitely. Sorry, guys. Had to go fight the cat from coming in with me.
Welcome back.
Yeah, the cat tried really hard to come in, and I was like...
She misses you.
She does. She's been on me all day. All right, enough about the cat. Are we done with this subject, or is there more you want to talk about?
Thanks, Dark Falls. Thanks, I'm glad I didn't get hurt, too.
Yeah.
And you, actually.
Yeah, good. We're glad neither of you got hurt. That's awesome.
Absolutely. I think for now that's all that can be said about this subject, but I think that we've kind of covered some interesting new theories about how ghosts can potentially be tied to this plane.
I definitely agree. I think it goes without saying that, well, I guess it doesn't go without saying that's not fair anymore. I mean, people feel that it doesn't happen, so.
I would like to bring up one more thing while we're on this particular part of the subject. I don't think you guys talked about it. When people are close to death, very often they see and hear things.
We did. We talked about that already.
Did you? I didn't.
You were
hear
not
that.
paying attention, were you?
Well,
We
maybe.
did talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah. We made sure to because I actually made a note of it and Ryan brought it up. And Beth mentioned maybe it's helping ease them over across.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then let me share a quick little
What was
story.
that about the YouTube? What was that? Not about YouTube. What did I say? What am I saying? What was that about you listening on Bluetooth? Not very well.
I was. I don't know how I missed that part.
That's all right. Go ahead. Share a story.
Well, I was just going to share my grandmother unfortunately passed away not long ago. But she was at her house and a member of her family was in a car wreck and died. And right at about the same time that this happened, she started like flinching and freaking out, saying that she heard these bells and she called them the death bells. And it's, I don't know, it's something that's really creeped me out that, you know, she thinks she can hear a bell tolling whenever somebody passes away.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of that before.
Yeah.
I wonder if everyone just kind of perceives final moments, I guess, in different ways. You know? I mean,
now,
I've heard
let
of
me
both
make
things.
sure to say this was a few weeks before she passed away. It wasn't like on her deathbed that this happened. She was at her house, you know?
Right. I mean, in the way that people, like, some people might perceive a spirit, but others might hear like a sound or see something they might not associate as a spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if it all ties into your how strong your belief system is and how you perceive your own reality.
$1 million question. I wouldn't know. Good question though.
Well, we've left a lot of what ifs on the table.
Yeah,
but, some things to think about for everyone tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with that, we'll move on to the next subject if you want to take a little break.
Let's do it. Let's take a break and we'll come back and talk about some creepy audio video stuff. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back.
Have you ever seen something in the sky at night that you couldn't explain? Research shows that 1 in 7 Americans have seen a UFO, but they choose not to share their stories. We want to hear about it. Write us, call in, join the chat. We are ready to believe you.
Hope you're enjoying the show tonight. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. But the fun doesn't have to stop there. If you head over to MidnightSpookhouse.com, you can download all the old episodes and listen to them as you want. Also, feel free to use the contact link and send us your messages. We might read them on air. Once again, head over to MidnightSpookhouse.com.
Spookhouse Radio.
And back we are once again. Ryan, I'm going to let you just carry this one because this was all your idea. Yours and yours alone.
So what we're going to do now is, when we were coming up for titles for our segments and everything, I came up with the Spooky AV Club. So tonight in our later half of the show, we're going to be talking about some spooky recordings and a certain video broadcast that happened 30 years ago. But yeah, these stories are going to be more along the lines of some audio visual paranormal activity. So first up, as I mentioned in our news segment, on November 22nd, which was this past Wednesday, it was the 30-year anniversary of what is known as the Max Headroom incident. Now, are either of you familiar with what happened there?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, I have heard this story about that.
Yeah, she was yawning, but I was going to let her go first. Yeah, I've heard about it, definitely.
So, for everybody that's new to this, this happened on November 22nd, 1987. And the perpetrators are still unknown to this day. So, this is an unsolved mystery. Cue the creepy theme song there. So this was during a broadcast of Doctor Who on WGN TV. And
well, that's kind of creepy on its own.
Yeah, so you can pull up this broadcast on YouTube. Just search the Max Headroom incident if you've never seen it before. And it's an interesting, kind of creepy experience, or at least I think it's a little creepy. So in the middle of the Doctor Who episode, the signal starts to get fuzzy, and then we're taken to an image of Max Headroom, which may be something that our younger viewers would have to Google as well. Max Headroom was a popular character back in the 80s, was used for advertising and had his own show and everything. But this person that hijacked the broadcast, they're wearing a Max Headroom mask, and their voice was distorted, and they started rambling on about some interesting things. It's hard to really say what exactly they were talking about. So some of the quotes he used, let's see. At one point, he says, "I'm better than Chuck Swirsky, the freaking liberal," and he starts to laugh and moan and scream a bit. All the audio is very distorted and very creepy sounding. At one point, he picks up a Pepsi can and crushes it and tosses it towards the camera, and he says, "Catch the wave," which was Pepsi's logo, or their slogan back then. Then he pulls up a new Coke and drinks from the can, which is a contradiction to the Max Headroom character. He was used in Pepsi advertising. Then he flips off the camera and says something like, "Your love is fading." And then I see the X, which he was referring to an episode of Clutch Cargo, which he started humming the theme song to that. So, yeah, whatever this was, he was just kind of all over the place. It doesn't seem like he was trying to convey any sort of message of importance. I think whoever this was just interested in performing this prank. So it all wraps up with he ends up bent over with his ass halfway hanging out, and there's another person there, a female, that's whipping him with a fly swatter. And he says, "Oh yeah, do it," and more screaming and moaning, and by that time it returns to the Doctor Who broadcast. So that is the tale of the Max Headroom incident. Now, I don't know if I really conveyed that in a creepy manner or anything, but in watching the footage, I certainly thought it was creepy. What do you guys make of that?
I mean, it definitely seems like he doesn't really have a message. He's just more into proving, hey, I did this. But I still think it's very creepy that, it's something that we can't identify or locate, the person that pulled this off.
Yeah, to this day, we have no idea who did this.
And he's completely masked and he's got a weird voice. That in itself is just creepy anyway.
Yeah. I guess I can link everyone in the chat.
Already did. Gotcha.
You did? Okay. Yeah. It's interesting. And like I said, I think it's kind of creepy. I think it may just be the quality of the audio, I guess. But they thought that they had a lead on a few people, but that all turned up dry. So they still have no idea who did this. They think, judging from the kind of equipment that was available to people outside of television networks in 1987, it leads them to believe that it was at least somebody working locally with television or in a network in some way to have the know-how to be able to hijack the signal like that.
Yeah.
But other than that, they really can't pinpoint who exactly did it. So
crazy.
Sorry, I was reading ahead on the log. I think I've spoke of it before. I mean, I agree. I think it was probably just somebody local, and it didn't really have a purpose, but it was creepy.
Mm-hmm. So I wonder if we'll ever know.
Doubtful at this point.
I kind of hope we never do.
It makes it creepier. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. The moment we'll live in infamy.
Mm-hmm. So what's your? I know you got another one. That's pretty creepy too.
So I just wanted to touch on that story because it was the 30th anniversary of it, and I've always thought that story was interesting. So on to, I guess, kind of the meat of our topic, number stations. Are either of you familiar of what number stations are?
Yes.
Or their purpose?
No, I've never heard of those. So please explain.
So
yeah, go ahead though.
So what this is, or what a lot of people believe, a number station is they're radio broadcasts, and they use shortwave radio, I believe it's said. So there's no way to really pinpoint the exact location of where it's broadcasting from. But what these things were used for was back in the Cold War, they would play these radio broadcasts, and what it usually was like a series of beeps or like Morse code, something like that, or someone speaking like a weird phrase. And what they think it was for spies or agents in the field to receive hints about their next instructions on whatever mission.
I can see that being useful,
Yeah. So like I said, there's no real way to determine. I think you can determine the country of origin wherever it's broadcasting from, but whoever the messages were for, the person would have to know exactly when to tune in, and of course they would have to have the inside information to help them decode the message. So why is that interesting to us now? Well, like I said, that was back in the Cold War, but for some reason there are some number stations that are still broadcasting today. So we're going to I guess theorize why or what the purpose of these things might be, because some of them are pretty creepy.
Is this something we can like listen to now, or when you say it's coded, is it really just Morse code, or do they have more coded codes?
Yeah, it's I mean, some would appear as simple as Morse code, and then some, I've got a list of them here. You would really have to be on the inside of what kind of information you would take from this to know what it means. Well, this one, for example, is called the buzzer. Now, radio enthusiasts have kind of given these aren't official names for these channels. They've just kind of nicknamed them. Now, it's important to note that these number stations were discovered just by radio enthusiasts that were just kind of scanning the airways, and then they discovered something strange out there. So they just kind of happened on these by coincidence. But if you continue to listen to that wavelength, I guess you would catch the broadcasts again. So whoever is out there, somebody has to man these things and make sure the broadcasts continue to happen. So that's where it gets mysterious. Like, who is still broadcasting this stuff, and who is it for? What does it mean? So this station is not really a station, but this frequency, I guess, is called the buzzer. And it's been broadcasting since the 70s, and it's still active today. So it consists of some repeated buzzing noises, and every few years, the buzzing gets interrupted by a Russian voice reading off a series of names and numbers. And whatever this buzzing noise is, it sounds like it's something that is done manually with some kind of device in the background, because it appears to be a different kind of buzzer every time somebody picks up on this. So, yeah, we don't really... that signal
comes from Russia, and that's about all we know about it. So
the KGB is communicating through these number stations still?
Yeah. To who or why? Well, I guess we'll never know. But it's still broadcasting today.
I really don't even know what to say about that. That's pretty creepy.
Yeah. So this one's kind of funny, actually, to lighten the mood, I guess. There's one they've nicknamed Yosemite Sam, appropriately because it includes some sound bites from Looney Tunes cartoons. And it actually started in 2000. Yeah. So, like I said, these things aren't broadcasting all the time. Let's see. The transmission comes in at 800 millisecond bursts of compressed data, which they could actually extrapolate pictures and video from if you knew how to get the data, I guess, from that. So it comes through as white noise, which they believe contains that data. And then the voice of Yosemite Sam saying things like, "Varmint, I'm going to blow you to smithereens." And then it'll cycle through and repeat every couple of minutes.
Do you think that's like a warning?
I don't know. So that one originates in the U.S.
Oh.
Yeah. So I wonder what that's for.
Well, you'd think that we'd be able to track that one down better and find out, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah. So that raises the question, are these just pranksters keeping these things going, or is this still a part of some agency's activities? Are we still sending messages in this manner to spies in the field? Or the Men in Black, or whoever?
To space?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess you can't really answer that question without knowing more, which we can't know more.
Right.
But it's still a creepy thing to think about.
So this next one, this is one of the more famous ones. It's called the Lincolnshire Poacher. And the reason it's named that is because when this number station comes on, it plays a couple of bars from a traditional English folk song called the Lincolnshire Poacher.
Okay.
It comes on, it plays a little song, and then it cuts to an English synthesized female voice reading numbers.
Okay.
And you can actually listen to a couple of recordings for this on YouTube if you do a little search.
How would you tune into these? Is this like on my car radio I can find it, or how do you tune in?
No, I think you actually have to have the proper kind of shortwave radio equipment to be able to pick it up.
Okay. I don't really know what shortwave radio is.
You know what? I don't have that much of an understanding of it myself.
Okay. Well, fair enough then.
So I don't know if Dale wants to chime in on that if you know a little more about it, but yeah, I don't think you can just, sit in your car and mess with the dial and pick it up. You've got to have a more powerful radio equipment, I guess we should say. So that one has been going on since the 70s as well, but it actually went inactive in 2008. But there have been several years where it's gone inactive, so it could really pop up again at any time. So one of the more creepiest, the creepier ones, is called the Swedish Rhapsody. And I actually listened to one of these before we got on the show tonight. This one's believed to be Polish. Yeah, they're pretty sure it's broadcasted from Poland, and it's been going on since the 70s as well. It's still active. It plays a music box version of the Swedish Rhapsody. So we're already starting off creepy there. And then it's followed by a child's voice reading off numbers in German. And then it plays the music box music again before it cuts off.
So
Now, I know that
In
it's a
what
sound-
intervals do these just repeat themselves? Like all day long, or is it?
No, it's usually just for several minutes, and then they're gone again.
Until the next day? Or I'm really confused.
Well, whenever some of them follow an interval, and it just varies between number stations. One might do one a week, and one might do one a day, and they usually follow a schedule. So again, it just varies, but it's not something that's broadcasting constantly or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
You just have to know when you're supposed to catch it.
That's still really creepy.
Well, one of the creepier ones is the backwards station.
Backwards what station?
Music station.
Huh.
So this one comes on and it sounds like a creepy song being played backwards. And sometimes it even has whale song in it. Like the actual song. And it usually includes weird noises and distorted voices. So no one really knows what the deal with that one is, how you could take information from that, because it just sounds like creepy, distorted noise.
Can you make out what the voices are saying, or are they too distorted for that?
It's too distorted. And again, you can listen to an example of it. That one, the sole purpose of that one, I think, is to just creep people out. That's all I.
Sounds like it.
Just sounded creepy. I don't know.
I would like to hear it though.
So, yeah, you'll have to play some of these and see what you think of it. Now, another thing I just discovered in looking at this, somebody pointed out our number stations moving to Twitter.
What?
Because there will be, like you've seen like bot accounts, they'll pop up and they'll spam advertisements or whatever. But there have been some accounts, like they'll pop up and they'll just post like a series of numbers in several tweets, and then the account will be deactivated. So is that kind of the same thing going on?
It sounds like it could be. That's really creepy. I don't understand why people are talking in numbers. Darkfall says to us that the shortwave radio is similar to CB but uses lower frequencies so that the signal travels farther, and that you need to have a license to use one.
Oh,
So
I see. Thank you for that.
they have to
explanation.
have a license to creep us out.
Yeah. So it takes the effort of a true radio enthusiast to be able to even pick up on these things.
Well, it sounds like if they need a license to use one, that it would be easier to find out who's doing it.
Well, like many things you can obtain in this world, you don't necessarily need a license to obtain that equipment, legally or illegally, I should say.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Get into it as like a hobbyist kind of thing. So, I don't know. It's interesting that some of these things are still going on today. What's odd about it is, somebody has to keep that up. Unless there's just some, abandoned station somewhere that's automated and can continue to generate that message until whatever that place runs out of power, I guess. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Do you think there's any kind of purpose to these things still, or is it just people trying to creep people out, or what?
Well, I think it sounds like it's a mixed bag, that some stations are just there to creep you out. Some may still be communicating with the German numbers and the synthesized voice numbers. I wish I knew what the numbers code was. That's I'm really intrigued now.
Yeah, see, without having, whatever kind of codex or whatever that the person that's supposed to receive the message has, there's no way we would ever really know.
I need my Little Orphan Annie decoder pin.
Yeah. So that's what it's all about, just having the decoder ring or codecs or whatever you need to receive the message and translate it, I guess. But that's a way we can continue to get information around. The benefit of that, is once again, you can broadcast it from a great distance away, and we can really only approximate, from what I'm gathering from this, you can really only approximate the country of origin. So it'd be a good way to get messages around without, revealing someone's location or something like that. So I think really that's all I've got on that. Again, it's just something creepy that I've been interested in. There are no definitive answers, and whoever is responsible for these things, that'll probably always be an unknown. But again, I invite everyone to search for number stations on YouTube, and you can listen to some recordings of this stuff. It's pretty creepy.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check it out. Thanks for creeping us out tonight with all this.
I don't know if it was creepy in the way I described it, but they're certainly creepy to listen to. So enjoy that before you go to bed.
Well, it's just creepy to know that they're out there.
Yeah. Let the sounds of a synthesized child read you some numbers in German to lull you to sleep.
God, no. It's nightmare fuel, as they say.
Yeah. So with that, I guess that kind of brings us to the end of that subject. I know we've got some listener questions tonight, but why don't we take a small break and maybe listen to a song, and then we'll do those listener questions.
Okay, sounds good. We'll cue up a song.
All right. We'll be back.
I got lots of speed. I got lots of something. I got lots to bleed. I got nothing special. I got nothing up my sleeves. I got nothing worthy. I got nothing for you to see. But fuck it. 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 Hey, let's see you. Let's see you. You got words so softly. You got better things to do. You got by without me. I got by without you too. You got something special. You got something wrong with you. You got nothing perfect. I got even high from you. But fuck it. 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 Let's see you. Let's see you. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it right. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it now. Let's see see you, let's see you, let's see you work it. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it right. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it now. Let's see you work it now. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it. Let's see you work it right.
All right, that was Professor Click, Work at Night. I feel like it's pretty appropriate for the Max Headroom talk and everything.
I dig it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got some user questions. I'm sorry, some listener questions. I want to call those user questions.
Well, I hope nobody's using us.
Use us for your entertainment. So, do you have the questions there?
I do have them pulled up.
See them? All right.
You want me to start us off?
I'll take. If you want to, go for it.
Okay. What does the word paranormal make you think of first? And this comes from Toby Guire.
Okay, Toby Guire. For me personally, I guess it's maybe I guess he's asking what do you think of first. For me, that's usually UFOs.
Yeah.
Alien life, what's going on in our universe that's unexplained to us so far, as well as those lovely government conspiracies. You know, all the what ifs out there. You know, is there an alien agenda for or against us? What is the government hiding from us? That's usually what comes to mind when I think of paranormal. What about you?
I would be lying if I didn't say that first I think of Paranorman.
It's a good movie.
It is a great movie.
I like it.
But I guess I don't know. I think the word gives me a feeling of just all things supernatural. I don't know.
Is it an easy feeling?
No. I guess it's more like a intriguing sort of mystery feeling. You know, I hear paranormal, I'm like, ooh, what's going on?
Yeah. I get you there. Is Dale back with us yet?
No, I don't think he's going to be able to join us for the rest of the show. We kind of have a situation going on, but he sends us love for sure. If you want to take us on to the next listener question.
Absolutely. So this comes from Holly. Have you guys ever tried lucid dreaming?
Ooh, Holly. I was really a little bit obsessed with lucid dreaming for a while.
Really?
I could never pull it off. But I would try the things that they would tell you to do in order to be lucid once you start dreaming. And it was really hard to accomplish, and I don't think I ever actually did, but I heard from other sources that the steps I was taking in order to be awake in my dreams would give me sleep paralysis. So once I found that out, I pretty quickly stopped because I didn't want to get terrified.
Yeah, I've heard the same things, which is, I've had sleep paralysis in the past, and that's terrifying. Not something anybody would want to willingly relive again. So what I've heard of, and I've to answer your question, I've never actually tried this. So I've looked into the steps, and from what I've read in the past, there was some steps in meditation and some other things you can do to prep yourself before you go to sleep. Had you heard anything like that, or did you attempt anything, like before you go to sleep?
No, I didn't ever attempt anything again after I found out it could cause sleep paralysis instead. But I was talking about it at work, and a friend of mine said that it was this whole lifestyle that you have to have, and both while you're dreaming and while you're awake, you have to do things like tapping on a desk and saying, "Is this real? Is this real?" Like making sure you're not dreaming while you're awake.
Interesting. So there's the risk of, I guess, losing touch with reality.
Yeah. That's the way they put it anyway.
So what I've heard of it is, if you can achieve this lucid dreaming state, then you can actually create things in your dream and manipulate things that are happening. Is that what you were trying to achieve?
Yeah, basically, well, I had heard stories of like people flying in their dreams and being aware and being able to fly to places and stuff. I thought that sounded really fun. But I mean, I don't really know.
So you're into it for a purely entertainment
side,
I guess. Yeah, from what I've read on it, it's kind of risky business. Like you said, there's the risk of sleep paralysis going on because you're toying with the subconscious mind. And sometimes if the conscious mind is awakened while the physical body is asleep, sleep paralysis, it can be a terrifying thing. So
yeah, that's
research at your own risk. But to answer your question, I have not tried it, but I didn't know that about you, Megan. So that's interesting.
Is that something you would attempt, Ryan, if you thought that you had the steps down?
I don't know. Because like you said, I had read the steps, like, oh, okay, I could try this, but there's always that warning of, if you do anything of this wrong, or if you're not truly prepared, you could go into a state of sleep paralysis. So
yeah,
that is not fun.
That's a pretty heavy side effect, I think.
Yeah, I'll pass. The being able to fly around and create things in my dream, that sounds pretty cool, but I kind of feel like unless you're willing to adapt to a lifestyle like that, I think our dreams are just they're meant to be left alone.
Yeah.
I think it's just a way for our subconscious mind to process what's happened to us during the day and maybe whatever stress we're going through. Dreaming, to me, if we think of our mind like a computer, it's a way for us to clear the cache, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I've thought of dreaming. So to me, just in my personal opinion, sounds like something that's better left alone.
But superpowers, Ryan. We could have superpowers.
That's why I play video games, and that's good enough.
I guess that's fair enough. All right, so on to the next question. Are you familiar with The Secret? My friend says she's found this answer to everything, and she's trying to get me into it. Is it some kind of weird religion, or what? Should I be concerned? And this comes from Courtney. Have you heard of The Secret, Ryan?
I actually, I watched a documentary on it, and from what I gather of it, it's, and we've talked about this on the show in the past, that, if you put your mind out there and try to speak to the universe or will things into existence that there's some truth to it. And that's what I gathered the secret was all about, is that if you can condition yourself to truly believe something, the universe will make it true. That there's more power to the human mind than we really think. So if you're having financial difficulties, if you can convince your mind to believe that everything's going to be okay and that situation is going to reverse itself, then one way or another it will.
That sounds like a pretty good secret.
Yeah. As far as it being like a religion, I don't think it's really a religion, but a lot of people kind of adopt it as a belief system. Is there any danger to it? I guess it depends on if they're allowing it to, how should I put this? If you're not really thinking of the consequences of your actions, but you're flying purely on the belief that you can change things with your thought. Your actions have consequences, and it's important to remember that that's always going to be the case, and no matter what you believe. So I guess don't lose track of that. And again, we're not here to advise anybody on a belief system or a religion you should take up or anything like that. But what I will say, I do believe it's always good to have a positive outlook on life.
Yeah, I definitely think that negativity attracts negativity.
Right.
So staying positive is definitely the way to go.
Exactly. So what the secret is saying is that there's an actual truth to that positive thinking and positive believing will yield positive results. And that the reason people get in such a negative spiral is because all they can do is think negatively about things. And so that's what the universe returns to them.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I'm sorry, who was that from?
Courtney,
sorry. I guess I would just kind of evaluate how your friend is behaving with this information. Does it feel like she's trying to convert you to a way of life, like it's a religion? Is she approaching it in that manner?
Well, as we said last week, Courtney, don't drink the Kool-Aid.
There you go. That's a good way to think of it. I guess I would recommend watching that. I believe it's still on Netflix, and it's just called The Secret.
Okay.
If anybody wants to watch that.
I'll have to check that out.
And they reveal the secret to you.
Well, Darkness Falls saved us some time. He said the answer is 42. So.
There you go. That's the meaning of life and existence. 42. So I don't know if you should be concerned, Courtney. Like I said, just watch out for your friend and just think positively. I think that's the best advice anybody can really give about anything. So, but no, I don't think it's like a weird religion or anything like that. All right. So the next question, I think we'd all do the Bloody Mary game on a dare. And I think most of us have, in a sleepover situation. But are there any spooky party games you just would not try? And that comes from Chet, baby, yeah.
Well, Chet, I think
Chet, yeah.
Chet, baby, yeah. You need to check out that episode we had when we talked about all sorts of spooky late night party games. Because 90% of those I would not try.
It's a good episode.
It was a good episode. But again, I'm a chicken.
Are there any that come out or that come to mind? Above the others?
Honestly, from that episode, The Midnight Man sticks out to me. I remember no thank you. But one of the biggest things, I think I'm too scared to touch a Ouija board.
Just in general?
Yeah. I don't want to have anything to do with an open doorway to bad things.
And I think, going back to speaking to the universe and believing, and I think that a Ouija board really only has the power that you give it.
I can see that, but I guess even if I was completely positive going in, the back of my mind would be that tiny little, it's coming to get you, and I don't think I could trust myself around one to not, I don't know, they scare me. How about you? Is there any party game that you remember you would just not try?
The Midnight Man was, that was pretty creepy. I don't know if I would go through those steps. I believe the steps on that involved, like, cutting yourself to write your name in your own blood.
Yeah.
You had to, like, write your name on a piece of paper with your own blood and then slip it under the door, and I don't know. That's pretty out there. I don't think anything would happen, but I don't think anybody needs to be engaging in any kind of blood rituals.
No, I think that's once you have to draw blood, that's a bad start.
But I think one of the midnight driver, or the cab driver, sounds intriguing and also terrifying, because it's one of those where you could have an interesting adventure there, but there were so many rules that if screwed up, you would be trapped in this purgatory from the way it was described.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think it's worth the risk. But hey,
I think we're both. We both agree that we probably wouldn't try any of the games we mentioned in that episode. So
yeah,
definitely go back and check that out. I think that was our Men in Black episode, wasn't it?
That sounds right, but I'm not 100% sure on that one.
I'm not sure. I'll look back through the episodes and look out for a tweet. I'll tweet that out with the episode link so everybody can check that out if they want to. All right. That brings us to the end of our listener questions. So I think that's a wrap for this show.
Well, that was a pretty crazy ride.
And I know we got started a little late tonight, but we're not too far over. So, and it was a little shorter show than what we usually do, but and we started a little late. So, on behalf of Spook House, I'd like to thank everyone for listening in again. I greatly appreciate you guys listening and participating in the chat and everything, and I hope you'll join us again next week. So for me, hope you have a good night and a great weekend. Megan?
Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. Sorry again about the beginning of the show. It was the Men in Black, like always, messing with us. But join us next week. Surely we'll get back on at midnight.
Sounds good. Good night, everyone.